Hey guys, sorry I couldn't be there today. For your notes, you are going to need a calculator, so make sure that you have a calculator out in front of you. If you don't, please just pause the video and go get one. Before we go into our notes, I did want to go over your warm-up, which you should have already finished. So you're just checking to make sure you did it right. It was giving you the actual world record for Usain Bolt in the 200-meter dash and Michael Johnson in the 400-meter dash. You needed to find how many meters per second. So for Michael Johnson, you should have got 10.36 meters per second after dividing both sides by 19.3 seconds. For Michael Johnson, you should have gotten 9.26 meters per second after dividing both sides by 43.18 seconds. How many meters can Bolt run for 45 seconds at this unit rate? Well, we know he runs 10.36 meters every second. So multiply that by 45 seconds and you get 466.2 meters. How many meters can Johnson run for 1 minute at this unit rate? Well, we know he runs 9.26 meters per second. So how many seconds are in a minute? Well, that's 60 seconds. So if we just multiply this by 60 seconds, we get an answer of 555.6 meters. When I go over the warm-up, I'm going to ask you to pause at certain times just to make sure you catch up on the notes. You need to make sure you're paying attention because we are learning something new today. So please put your warm-up away, and you should have out in front of you your ISN notes that look like this. I will pause the video now to get everyone set up with their notes in front of them and ready to go. Okay, example A, Gabby was practicing basketball. She made 38 shots, I'm going to underline that because it's important, in 4 3/4 minutes. How many shots did she make per minute? Per minute. I know per means 1, so I need to know how many shots she made in 1 minute. Well, before we even do this, I'm going to set up my unit rate. I know I need to find 1 minute. So since I have minutes down here, I have to put minutes down here. Now here's the problem. I have 4 3/4 minute. We're going to learn how to convert a fraction into a decimal to help us solve. Because if I put 4 3/4 down here, I then have to divide by a fraction, which can become difficult. But we can do a shortcut. First things first, whenever you have a fraction, first things first, convert your fraction into a decimal through division. Please write this down. Through division. What I mean by that is this. Take 4 3/4 as our first example. I know that I have 4 holes, so I know that it's going to be 4 holes over here. I then have 3/4 of a number, which is not a hole, but I can put a decimal there. And now I got to figure out what is 3/4 as a decimal. This is where my calculator comes into play. Well, 3/4, this line, what does this line mean? It means to divide. So I'm going to take my numerator, or my top number, which is 3, and I'm going to divide it by my denominator, my bottom number, which is 4. So you just put in your calculator 3 divided by 4. If this was 3/5, we would do 3 divided by 5. If this was 1/4, we do 1 divided by 4. But because it's 3/4, we are going to do 3 divided by 4. That equals 0.75. Well, I know it's not actually 0 because it's 4 holes. So what it actually equals is 4.75. And again, I got that number from right here. So 4 3/4 is the same as 4.75. I now can plug this in for my minutes. So I have 4.75 minutes. Now, how many shots did she make in 4.75 minutes? She made 38 shots. So I know whatever's up here is going to be shots. Now to solve, we're going to work across like we've always done. I'm going to start with my denominator. To go from 4.75 to 1, I have to divide because I'm going smaller. And I know to get 1, I just divide by whatever number's here. I divide by the same number. So 4.75 divided by 4.75 gives me 1. Now to make this equal, whatever I do to the bottom, I got to do to the top. Whatever I do to my denominator, I got to do to my numerator. So I'm going to draw an arrow, and I'm going to divide by 4.75. This would be a good time to pause the video and let everyone catch up. So if you could pause the video right now, we're going to catch up, and we're just going to copy the notes down. Okay, so now I can determine how many shots I make per minute by following my numerator. So I had 38 shots, so I'm going to put 38 in my calculator. I then have to divide, so I'm going to divide by 4.75. That gives me 8 shots. So what that means, in other words, Gabby made 8 baskets per minute. Please pause the video so everyone can catch up. I would also like you to try example B on your own, and then I'll go over it together. So pause the video, try example B. It should take about 5 or 6 minutes. And then I will go over it together. Okay, so Alan was making cookies. The recipe calls for 3 1/4 cups of flour for 26 cookies. Alan only has 1 cup of flour though. How many cookies will he be able to make with 1 cup of flour? Well, I'm going to set up my unit rate with 1 cup. I know he has 3 1/4 cups, but I need to convert that to a fraction. So I am going to convert 3 1/4 to 3 and now I have to convert 1/4 to a fraction. To do that, I need to do 1/4, so 1 divided by 4. That gives me 0.25, which is really 3.25 because I had 3 1/4. So he used 3.25 cups of flour. And that made 26 cookies. I need to know how much he can make with 1 cup of flour. So I'm going to put cookies up here to make it equal. Please pause the video if anyone needs to catch up. To go from 3.25 to 1 cup, I need to divide by 3.25 because I know anything divided by itself equals 1. I am now going to divide my numerator by the same thing. 3.25, and we can use our calculator for this. 26 cookies divided by 3.25 equals 8 cookies. What that means is he can make 8 cookies with 1 cup of flour. In other words, Alan can make 8 cookies per cup of flour. Okay, after these notes, you can pause to catch up. You need to complete the Pokemon Go practice, and then after that, I just have some unit rate practice where you're going to need to find the unit rates and compare them with other unit rates to see which is better. If you have any questions, please ask the guest teacher. You can also refer back to your class folders, your ISN notes, and your homework. Please do turn in your homework from last night. I will be collecting it, and know that I'm collecting all of your work and it will be graded. Thanks, guys. I miss you. Have a great day.